Vaishnavas? Srimad Bhagavatam. The great saint Narada said, Evam plus pralobhyamana, being allured or induced. Api, although. Varai, by benedictions. Loka, of the world. Pralobhanai, by different kinds of allurements. Ekantitvat, because of being solely surrendered. Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Na aichat, did not want. Tan, those benedictions. Asura Uttama, Prahlad Maharaj, the best of the family of Asuras. Translation. Narad Muni said, Prahlad Maharaj was the best person in the family of Asuras who always aspire for material happiness. Nonetheless, although allured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who offered him all benedictions for material happiness, because of his unalloyed Krishna consciousness, he did not want to take any material benefit for sense gratification. Responsively, please. Narad Muni said, Prahlad Maharaj was the best person in the family of Asuras, who always aspire for material happiness. Nonetheless, although allured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who offered him all benedictions for material happiness, because of his unalloyed Krishna consciousness, he did not want to take any material benefit for sense gratification. The there's one, many important words here. One word that particularly stands out, where it's talking about how this ekantitvat, meaning he's just fully surrendered. There's no contamination of ekanti. It means one-pointed attention. His only interest is to please Krishna. Purport: pure devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj do not aspire for any material benefit at any stage of devotional service. When the Lord was present before Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva did not want to take any material benefit from the Lord. Swamin kritatosmi varam najache. As a pure devotee, he could not ask the Lord for any material benefit. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us, Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadish kame mamma jamani jamanishre bhavatat bhakti rohituki twain. O my Lord Jagadish, I do not pray for benedictions by which to achieve material wealth, popularity, or beauty. My only desire is to serve you. Kindly engage me in the service of the servant of your servant. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlad Pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with Prayers. So this is a wonderful example of pure devotion. How Lord Nrsimhadev is offering anything he wants, any material benediction he wants, he's offering to him. And Prahlad is saying, no, I'm not interested. And like, we can kind of get an idea or a contrast between, say, for instance, our own bhakti and that of Prahlad. For instance, if someone came, if the Lord came to you today and said, okay, I'll give you $1 million, or £1 million, who would say no? We'd probably all jump at the opportunity. Or any material facility that comes our way, we're generally eager to have that. Of course, the devotees will take that facility and to the best of their capacity engage in Krishna service. But still, we can see that the difference between a greatly advanced devotee and someone who's on the path of bhakti. And I was listening to a class this morning, actually, and Prabhupada was talking about the Pandavas, how the Pandavas could have easily have asked Krishna for the kingdom, and he would have given it to them easily. It's just like, for him to wipe out all the Kauravas would have been nothing. And we see also in the Gita, in the I can't remember which, I think it's the 10th or 11th chapter, where Krishna is saying to Arjuna, like, all these warriors already killed by my arrangement, you just have to fight and take the credit, because Krishna was already wiping them all out, and Arjuna just had to carry out his service, carry out his duty, and he got the credit. But we see, especially in the example of Yudhisthira Maharaj, he wouldn't ask Krishna for any material benediction. And this is the example of all the Pandavas, because they were great devotees. And we see, in Kunti and Uttara and all these wonderful Vaishnavas, they set such a stellar example of selfless devotional service. And to come to this point of being unalloyed, or if you look at it in terms of metal, an alloy is a mixture of different metals, just like aluminium, for instance, or it just came back from America, they call it aluminum. And it's a mixture of aluminum, bauxite, and a few other different things. So it's an alloy. An alloy means it's a mixture, just like like this is 9-carat gold, so it means it's mixed with something. It's not pure. Whereas when you get a pure metal, like gold, for instance, it's not as strong. So they mix it with things to make it stronger. But this is not the case in devotional service. In devotional service, when it's mixed with something, it's not as strong. Prabhupada was talking in this lecture this morning about this Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, how the devotional service of those who are not pure is always mixed, or it's tainted with something. But only this unalloyed devotional service can attract Krishna, as he explains in the Gita, Bhakti Mama Vijanati Yava and Yaschasmi Tatva Mam Tatva Gyata Vishate Taranantanam. That only by pure devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you. It's only through devotional service we can understand Krishna. So, not through any amount of, and this is Lord Shiva. We were talking about this verse yesterday. in the end of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this verse, Aham Vedmi Sukho Veti Vyasa Veti Devetiva Bhaktya Bhagavatam Gayam Nacha Buddha Natikaya. So he's explaining, Lord Shiva is explaining that I know the Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami knows the Bhagavatam, and Vyasadeva, I'm not sure. Maybe he knows it, maybe he doesn't. Which is kind of an interesting statement considering Vyasa was the compiler of the Bhagavatam. But she was saying, I'm not sure if he understands it. But then he says, on the whole, the Bhagavatam it can't be understood by Nacha Buddha. Buddha means intelligence. Natikaya, by reading commentaries. It can't be understood. It's only Bhakti Bhagavatam. It's only by Bhakti that we can understand. And we see here, this is quite an extraordinary chapter, where in the beginning of the chapter, because in the previous chapter, we see how Nrsimhadev had killed Hiranyakashipu and his thousands and thousands of soldiers, just completely obliterated them like they were just mosquitoes. And then he was ferocious. He was roaring and gnashing his teeth, and his claws were, he's really worked up, basically. And all the Devatas, the demigods, they're standing there and all really fearful. And Brahma, he wouldn't approach the Lord because he was just in such a fearful state. And he asked Lakshmi, he's your husband. You approach him. I just said, no way, I'll not go on there. He's a bit too wild for me. And then Prahlad was standing nearby, and Brahma, he asked Prahlad, please go and approach the Lord. Approach your Lord. And Prahlad was fearless. He was only a little boy. He was only like 7 years old or something. Completely fearless. Why? Why was he fearless? Because of bhakti. Because when one actually has devotion for Krishna, there's nothing to fear in this material world. Because you understand everything in this material world is temporary. You understand that it's not going to bring you happiness. It's not going to bring you peace. It's not going to bring you satisfaction. It's going to bring you distress. He had no inclination for anything in this material world. So he was able to approach Nrsimhadev. And Kunti makes this same point in the 8th chapter of the 1st canto. How's that verse? Aishvat. Janmashva Shutasi Shibi, Edamanamadantama, Navahati Abidatam by Twamakinchana Gochara. That only those persons who are freed from the desire for the Janma, to get an opulent birth. Just like, you get all these like famous actors and famous sports stars and all these type of things. You've got so much money and so much influence and so much, facility. And like when you go through airports, you'll see there's lots of magazine stalls, and they've all got these magazines promoting these persons' lifestyles, and how attractive it would be, to live like them and, have the nice cars and this and that. And so people, the common person is just aspiring to live like that. But they never will. They'll never achieve it. Not in this life, at least. But they promote it because they know that people are not satisfied. They know that people want more. But we see Kunti, she's explaining that one who's looking for this higher birth, one who's looking for great opulence, one who's looking shuta, there's knowledge, shibir, beauty. They want to have a very beautiful form. They cannot approach you because they have material desires. And that's why they can't approach Krishna, because they're interested in something in this material world. They're still looking for something here. And as long as we're looking for something in this material world, we'll never find satisfaction, because you cannot find satisfaction here. Or the satisfaction you do find is temporary and short-lived. And that's the nature of everything in this world. As Krishna explains in the Gita, he says, Dukhalayam Shvatam. That the material nature, in the material nature, everything is by very nature, it's temporary. And because it's temporary, it brings distress. That's the situation of everything in this material world. Prahlad Maharaj, he wasn't interested in that. His father was the most powerful person in creation, apart from God, of course. But he was the most powerful material person. He was so powerful that the seasons functioned only under his authority. And he made it spring all the time because he liked flowers and fruits and stuff like that. He actually was so powerful he took over the functions of all the devatas. There's like, how many devatas is there? There's 33 million devatas. They all have different functions. And he was so powerful, he took over the function of every one of those 33 million. And they were so scared of him, they were hiding in the clouds and in subtle forms, so people couldn't see them because they were terrified of Hiranyakashipu. And so he took over the function of all these persons and actually did it really well. It wasn't like he did a bad job of it. He did it better than the devatas do. He was just so powerful by his tapasya. Yet, even though he was a great personality, even though he was very powerful, even though he understood the Vedas, he was still averse to God. And his intention was he wanted to kill God. And Prahlad, coming from this background, he's saying to Nrsimhadev, it's like, what's the point of your material benedictions? I had access to everything, like power, wealth, fame. My father is the embodiment of all these things. And look where it got him. He got killed by you. So what's the use of it? So this is the where Prahlad is coming from. He's saying that this is actually temporary and it won't bring me satisfaction. It won't bring me what I'm looking for. What do I want? I want you. And he's very clear on that. I want you, my Lord. And I'm not prepared to negotiate on that. And this Kevala Bhakti, this unalloyed devotional service, is you're not prepared to negotiate on it. I just want Krishna. Nothing else will satisfy me. And this is, we see in Srila Prabhupada's example, because it's Srila Prabhupada's Tirabhav today. I just thought we could just reflect upon the example that Srila Prabhupada gave us. This wonderful example he gave us of this unalloyed devotion to Krishna. He wasn't interested in anything else than spreading Krishna consciousness and giving us the opportunity to come to the level, to some standard of Krishna consciousness. If you look at Prabhupada's life in India before he came here, he was living in Vrindavan at the Radha Damodar temple in what he called the most spiritual place in the universe. That temple there, and especially because you've got Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir and Samadhi there. And that's the spot where the Goswamis would come every day and discuss philosophy, and they take their lunch there. And they come there every day to be with Rupa Goswami and discuss the Siddhanta of Gaudiya Vaishnavism and the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how to codify the standards given by Lord Chaitanya and put them into scripture and for the welfare of all living entities. And Srila Prabhupada, he gave up that to come to the West and spread Krishna consciousness. And we see that Prabhupada also was very, very inspired by the example of Prahlad Maharaj, because especially you go back a few verses in this chapter, and Prahlad's saying to Nrsimhadev is like, I'm not worried about myself. And this is the situation of all devotees. Like Krishna mentions in the end of the 18th chapter, how there's no person in this world who's more dear to me than that person who's spreading this message of Krishna consciousness. So when you become dear to Krishna, what do you have to worry about? Any goal you might have in life is already taken care of. And so this was the consciousness of Prahlad Maharaj. He was thinking that, I don't need any of these things because I'm already saved. I'm just always absorbed in thought of you. And we see in his example, his father, as I mentioned before, tried to kill him in so many different ways. Yet, in every situation, what did he do? He didn't call it, oh, please, save me, save me, save me. I'm going to die. No, nothing of it. He just called out the name of the holy name of the Lord. In every situation, his father tried to have him trampled under the feet of elephants, boiled in oil, thrown into a pit of snakes, attacked with so many sharp weapons, thrown off a cliff onto sharp rocks, so many different things like that. And each situation, Prahlad just took shelter of Krishna. Never once did he ask for Krishna to save him. So we can see the nature of his devotion. And ultimately, he was just concerned that others can come to Krishna consciousness. This is the heart of a devotee. We see how Prahlad was just so determined to give Krishna consciousness to others. Even when he was at school, what's he doing? The kids are playing, they're doing their ball games and stuff like that. What's he doing? He says, why are you wasting time? This human form of life is very rare. Don't waste it on these foolish activities. You should use the human form of life from the tender age of choice. It's komara, means from 5 years old, to practice the activities of devotional service. So even as a young boy, he's preaching with so much vigor because he's understanding the situation of the living entity in this material world. He's understanding how the living entities are suffering. And we see in his purports, Prabhupada takes great inspiration from Prahlad Maharaj, also from Bhishma. He takes great inspiration from Bhishma Dev, because Bhishma Dev, he's lying on his deathbed and he's still preaching. He's still trying to deliver others from the nescience of birth and death. And so this is the example that Srila Prabhupada has also set for us, following in the footsteps of these great Mahajans, Prahlad Maharaj, Queen Kunti, and Bhishma Dev. He's following their example and trying to spread Krishna consciousness far and wide. And we see, because of Prabhupada's purity, because of his determination to spread Krishna consciousness, in 11 short years, how much effect did he have? Just one person. I mean, in 11 years, if we all tried together, we couldn't do what Prabhupada did, because of his purity, because of his determination to serve Krishna. And this we see here is demonstrated in this pastime with Prahlad Maharaj, because of his determination, as it's mentioning here, this word, ekantitvat, he had this one pointed attention. And Krishna also, he mentions that in the Gita, Bahu Shakinantasya Buddhayo, what's that verse? Vyasatmaka Buddhi Eke He Kurunandana Bahu Shakinantasya Buddhayo Vyavisayana. That for those whose intelligence is many branched, they're unable to focus, they're unable to achieve the goal. But for a person who has this one pointed attention, that this Vyasatmaka Buddhi, then he's able to achieve the goal very, very effectively. So Prabhupada has come to give us this example of how to practice bhakti, how to achieve the goal, by being fixed in our determination to serve Krishna, by being fixed in our determination to please Krishna. Because, just like we see, in devotional service, I visit a lot of temples, and you'll see, like in different temples, they do things in different ways. Some temples they do it this way, some temples they do it that way. But it's not like one's really right or wrong, it's just different. But the main point is they have this determination to please Krishna. And we see that Prabhupada would always look for that. Devotees are trying to please Krishna, therefore he would be happy to accept what they're offering. And this is one of the great qualities, I guess, of devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement, is even though they may be doing things in different ways, their endeavor is to try to please Krishna. And when we try to please Krishna, Krishna becomes happy. Krishna becomes pleased with that. And in that way, he accepts our devotional service. And in that way, we make advancement on the spiritual path through this endeavor to try to please Krishna. And, we see with Srila Prabhupada, especially in his early purports in the Bhagavatam, he'd often been writing about how he feels completely unqualified for this mission. But by taking the instruction of his Guru Maharaj as his life and soul, he feels that he was able to be successful. Of course, we have a different perspective on that. We see this because of Prabhupada's determination to serve Krishna, because of his undying faith in the holy name, that he was so successful. But Prabhupada, he takes this position out of his humility to give all credit to his guru, and also he would give all credit to his disciples as well. He would say, my Guru Maharaj has sent me so many wonderful devotees to help me spread this Krishna consciousness movement. So he never would take credit for himself, but always would be willing to offer the credit to others. And this is actually the mood of a humble Vaishnava. And Prabhupada, I mean, so many wonderful features or qualities that he's demonstrated for us. And of course, it's natural that a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava, is going to manifest many qualities, but also, as Srila Prabhupada took this role of an Acharya, he was manifesting these qualities, especially in very clear ways, for us to follow, for us to understand, for us to take up, and also try to become Krishna conscious. Yeah. Any questions, comments at all? A bit throaty today, it's kind of hard to speak. Yeah, I talk to Prabhu.
I had also very customers in power. Nobody was getting sick, nobody was going old. And the truth, in the year, he was saying he was ruling the universe better than the devil.
Yeah.
So, if Harikashipu had not been killed instead of power, then everyone would just be here happy in its own universe. Nobody died or growing old.
People growing old and dying, I mean, everyone dies. You can't stop that. That's what Prabhupada would say in the material world, the death rate is 100%. Like one time he was doing this interview, and the reporter he said, "Oh, Swamiji, why is the death rate in India so high?" And the Prabhupada said, "No, the death rate is the same everywhere, 100%. Yeah, so everyone's going to die. That's just the reality of it." But the thing is, like, the problem with Hiranyakashipu is he was an atheist. And even though it's just like you look at, some people these days in these big corporations and stuff, they're very expert at running these things, very expert at making money, but they're demons. So what's the use of it? Harava Bhakta Shokuto Mahadguna Harava Bhakta, if they're not devotees of the Lord, it's all useless. They have no good qualities. Even if they're adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining their family and religion, they're driven by their own mental speculations. They're hovering on the mental platform. So it doesn't matter how expert you are, if you're not a devotee of Krishna, it's of no value. And that's the problem in this material world, is people look and they see, people with so many material qualities, and they think, oh, they're such great people. But they're not devotees of Krishna. What's the use? What's the use? How are they going to deal with the problems of birth, death, old age, and disease without being a devotee of Krishna? The only thing that can solve death is to become a devotee of Krishna. The only thing that can solve any of these things is to become a devotee of Krishna and surrender to Krishna and go back to Godhead. There's no birth, there's no death, there's no old age, there's no disease. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, you see, in some of these warring kind of countries, some of these situations, they have in the countries, materially are very affluent, material very, very comfortable and stuff like that. But what's their underlying motive? Power. Just to dominate another country. It's not to spread Krishna consciousness. And I was listening to a class the other day, and Prabhupada was talking about the nature of war, and he said that war's demoniac because it causes so many people to suffer. And then some people, they see that, and then they compare it to the Battle of Bhagavad Gita. They say, well, look, Krishna's fighting on the battlefield, Krishna's on the battlefield encouraging Arjuna to kill people. Isn't that also demoniac? No, because the purpose was to establish a religious rule. To establish Yudhisthira as the emperor. Yudhisthira was a pure, unalloyed devotee of Krishna. The Pandavas are eternal associates of Krishna. So that has to be the thing we judge things by. Are they devotees of Krishna or not? Are they trying to spread Krishna consciousness? Are they trying to give people knowledge of the higher purpose of life? If the answer to all those things is no, then it's useless. There's no benefit to anyone. So what? You have lots of money in the bank. So what? Is that going to save you at the moment of death? Yamaraj comes and says, look, how much money do you want? No. Prabhupada tells this story about there's one intelligent or so-called intelligent man was trying to cheat Yamaraj. So he came up with this plan that he was going to smear his body with stool because stool's really inauspicious, and Yamaraj is, Dharmaraj, so he wouldn't come when he was covered in stool. Didn't work. So it doesn't matter what material endeavor you make, it's not going to change the fact that you have to die. It's not going to change the fact that you have to get sick, get old, take birth again. No material facility can change that. It's only when we become God conscious that it changes these things. Yeah, it's in the Bhagavatam. Yeah, just go back a few chapters, it talks about it. It's so powerful. I mean, he just replaced all the Devatas, 33 million Devatas. I mean, that's pretty powerful. Can you imagine someone being such a good ruler on this planet that they replaced every ruler on the planet and ran all the countries perfectly? I mean, you got all these big governments now, and they can't even run one little country perfectly. It's such a mess. Like, like I said, I just got back from America. That country's a mess. Crime is incredible, just like the way people behave is just, so animalistic, some of them. There's some nice people there, but some of them, their behavior is just so animalistic. Is that successful? Everywhere you go in the world, it's like that, People are becoming more and more degraded. Why? Because the leaders are degraded. They don't know what the goal of life is. They think the goal of life is economic development. To have, a big house in the suburbs, a couple of cars in the garage, a swimming pool in the backyard, solar panels on the roof. For them, that's the perfection of life. There was a song, I don't know who wrote it. It might have been Mangalananda. Name, fame, glory, it's the same story. You get your name up in lights, you think it's the perfection of life. That's what they think. To become famous. If I could become famous like, whoever it is, I mean, I don't know who these people are, but if I could become famous like that, I'd be so happy. But you go and speak to these people, you analyze their lives. Are they happy? How many die from drug overdoses? Is that a sign of someone who's happy? They're taking drugs? No, it means they're unhappy because they're trying to find. Like I came across this thing. It's popular here in England called fast gas. It's like nitrous oxide. They sniff this and they make them laugh. Laughing gas. Yeah. It's a bit of a craze in the UK right now, especially in central London. You see these bottles of fast gas all over the place. And people think by sniffing this gas they're becoming happy because they laugh. But it's triggering. It's just like a motor response. They just take this gas and it causes them to laugh. But does that mean they're becoming happy? And if I did a little bit of a Google on it, and apparently there's some quite serious side effects from it. It can even cause mental disorder. And if you look at what's going on in the world now, how many crazy people are there in this world? It's getting more and more all the time. And that's because the mode of ignorance is increasing. Madness is a symptom of ignorance. And as ignorance becomes more and more prevalent in this world, you'll see there'll be more and more crazy people. So it's up to the Krishna consciousness movement to push back on that, because only through giving people Krishna consciousness will they understand what is the purpose of life. If they're thinking the purpose of life is to enjoy it, then they'll pursue intoxication, which will lead them to ignorance, madness, and death. But if they understand that the goal of life is to reawaken your original understanding of who you are and serve Krishna, go back to Godhead, then this will change the world. And this Krishna conscious movement has the capacity to do that. We just have to strive with all our endeavor. Not get caught up with as Prahlad Maharaj is talking about, these petty things in this material world. Just strive to spread Krishna consciousness in whatever way we can. Anything else?
Thanks so much for such a nice class, Prabhu. Just a quick question regarding how can one know if Krishna is being pleased with our service?
Quick question, but not a quick answer. There's many different ways you can understand. Are you happy? Are you happy in devotional service? That's a symptom. Are the devotees, your interaction with devotees, what are they like? Are they sweet? Are the devotees, do you get nourishment from that association? Devotees find nourishment from your association? Are you experiencing ecstatic symptoms? These things are all signs that Krishna is satisfied with what you're doing. Are you, determined to push on? Because the thing is, we can only do anything with Krishna's mercy. It's, even the fact of functioning, me moving my hand is Krishna's mercy. It's only by his arrangement. The jiva that's situated in the region of the heart is atomic, has no capacity to do anything, can just desire. And by the mercy of Krishna, this happens. So the fact that you're here, the fact that you're chanting Hare Krishna, is an indication that Krishna is pleased with you, because he's allowing you to chant his holy name, which is the means for emancipation in this age. So the fact that you're he may not be blissfully happy, but he's happy with you, But we should not become complacent or content. Oh yeah, Krishna's happy with me, I don't need to do it. No, we have to keep increasing, always increasing, surrendering more and more. And you see, this is the example of the residents of Vrindavan. Just 2 days ago, it was Govardhan Puja, and you can see how Krishna is always acting to bring the devotees closer to him. Where were we reading from in London? Parikshit Maharaj in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavatam, first canto. Prabhupada, there's a purport there where Prabhupada talks about how, the story of how Parikshit Maharaj garlanded Srimad Rishi with a snakeskin, and then he got cursed by Srimad Rishi's son. And Prabhupada comments in one of the purports there that this is actually Krishna's great mercy upon Parikshit Maharaj, because he had some attachments to family and position and stuff like that. So Krishna was arranging this situation so he could give it all up. And we see in the lives of so many great devotees how Krishna acts to bring them closer. And he's doing the same for us. He's acting to bring us closer always. He's always acting in that way to help you come closer to Krishna. So to come closer to him. So this is a sign of his satisfaction or his happiness with you, because otherwise, if he wasn't happy with you, he'd push you away. So the evidence is there in that you have the opportunity to surrender to Krishna. This is evidence that Krishna, to some extent, is satisfied with what you're doing. But keep pushing. Don't become happy with where you're at, because you might lose his pleasure. Yeah. Okay. Another question.
I was going to ask the question that Prahlad Maharaj, he's very tolerant, and he's tolerant to the point where even in the face of death, So in our situation, how can we come to the point of tolerating, and where do we draw the line of how much we can tolerate, how much we should tolerate?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we see Krishna's instruction to Arjuna. This is matra spasa de kuntaya sitoshna sukadukada agamapina nis tangsatikshasha bharata. The non-permanent appearance that happens in distress and the disappearance in due course of time are like the appearance of summer and winter seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one has to learn to tolerate these things without being disturbed. So, I mean, like if you look at the stuff we have to deal with in our lives, it's pretty insignificant. You look at Arjuna was in the situation where he had to kill all his dearly beloved relatives. His grandfather, who raised him from a little boy, his martial teacher, who taught him everything he knows, and Bhurishrava was also another grandfather who was very, very affectionate to. So all these people he loved dearly, he had to kill them all. And Krishna is saying, tolerate. So I mean, what do we have to tolerate? A bit of cold weather, like a chest full of mucus. It's not a big deal, really. We're here in Scotland, and we're not in Gaza, for instance. You think you've got some challenges. I mean, what are they? You know, like every day there's the missiles are just raining down on them. And it's like, can you imagine being in such a situation? So I think, you know, one thing that really helps, at least me, is a bit of gratitude to understand where I'm at, to be, you know, to just be realistic about what it is. Okay, you know, maybe some of the pujaris are giving you a hard time. Is it really that difficult? You know, or there's some difficulty in your relationship, or there's some difficulty in the weather. Is it really that difficult? So I think, you know, just to kind of have a bit of a reality check on what it is you have to deal with, and then look at what other people have to deal with. And look at the Pandavas, you know, when they were, what they had to go through. You know, it's like they drugged Bhima, they tried to poison him, you know, with a poison cake. They tried to, you know, Duryodhana was always trying to bring grief to the Pandavas, you know, burn them in a house of luck, force them into exile. When they're in exile, they tried to expose them, so they'd have to go for another 12 years into exile. Even like when they were staying at the house of, what's his name? Virat. When they were in the house of Virat, you know, he found out by his spies that I think the Pandavas might be there. So they went with the whole army to try to capture the Pandavas. You know, they actually broke the army in two. They stole Virat's cows, and then so Arjuna came out single-handedly and took on the whole army. And then they saw, you know, like Bhishma Dev, he saw this. He said, "This is Arjuna." He said, "You better get out of here because he's going to, you know, mess you up." And you know, it was just quite extraordinary. He took on the whole Kaurava army and defeated them single-handedly. And what's his name? Bhuminjaya was the chariot driver. And so they tolerated so much, being put into exile for you know 12 years, you know, just regular, and 1 year incognito. And you know, like Duryodhana had thought that he actually he found them before the time was up, and Bhishma did the calculations to know the time ended just before they came out. But they tolerated it. They didn't. Not once did they complain. Not once did they ask Krishna to intervene. And yet, what happens? At least I know myself. Every time there's a problem, oh please, Krishna, please, this is too much. And we're always asking Krishna to intervene. So we can understand by the way we respond to different circumstances where we are in devotional, you know, in terms of our spiritual advancement. But you see in the lives of great devotees, you know, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Uddhava, they never ask Krishna to intervene. They're just looking for more opportunity for service. So what we have to tolerate in this material world is so insignificant. I mean, we're actually blessed. It mentions that, you know, Rupa Goswami explains that when you come to devotional service, there's three, as we understand, there's 3 stages in devotional service. You know, gone blank. It talks about 3 different stages of devotional service. And in the first stage, 2 things happen: is the cessation of suffering and auspiciousness. So if you go back to what was going on before devotional service, you can see you probably weren't very happy. Looking back at that, when you were there, you were just thinking, "Oh, great, you know, just immersed in ignorance." But looking back at it, you can see you weren't very happy. So Rupa Goswami points out that at this stage of Vaidhi Bhakti, then automatically, you know, the cessation of suffering and auspiciousness. And then as we advance further and further, then, you know, there's more things that happen. So yeah, you just have to be reflective, and you'll see you're actually doing quite well. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class. Can you please expand a little bit on you mentioned about single pointedness, and then where should that be aimed to our Guru Maharaj or Sadhana?
Krishna.
Or Krishna?
Krishna. He's the goal. And the Guru helps you to get there. But the Guru is not the goal. He helps you. He's a guide. And his purpose is to bring you to Krishna. That's his intention, is to bring you to Krishna. But ultimately, we want to become Krishna conscious. This is called the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not the International Society for Guru Consciousness. So the point of that relationship is to bring you closer to Krishna. The point of everything we do is to bring you closer to Krishna. And you'll see that many of these initiating spiritual masters are very able guides. And they direct their disciples to Krishna. But if the Guru is directing you to something else, then you have to question, is that valid? Yeah. Yes, bro.
I think you just mentioned this Kleshagni and Subhada, this. So when we practice in devotional service, all our sufferings like Kleshagni, they go away. And you mentioned about 3 stages of devotional service. You mentioned 3 stages of devotional service, if I correctly listened to you. So could you please clarify a little more about these 3 stages, approximately?
My head's just blank on it right now, sorry. Kali Yuga memory. Yeah. That's why it's nice traveling with Merle, because he's really good with all this sort of stuff. He remembers all these lists and things I'm no good. Yes, Nectar Devotion, 2nd chapter, I think. Yeah. There's Vaidhi, Bhava, Prem, I think. I think they're the 3 stages, Vaidhi, Bhava, and Prem. Yeah. Sandaranda, Vijayashatma, that's it. I think that comes in Prem. Good.
The ghost bones. That there's a place where all their scriptures are buried, that they wrote a lot of things, and it was hidden. I wondered if you knew anything about that.
What they wrote. At the what temple is that in Vrindavan? There's a what do they call it? You know where Sanatana Goswami's Samadhi is? When you go up to Mata Mohan and there's that, they fixed the fence now, but you used to go up the steps there and sort of climb over the fence rather than going all the other way. I can't remember what temple it is, but anyhow, there they have a Granth Samadhi there. And so all the Goswami's literatures were put into that. But also, apparently, the Vrindavan Institute, whatever they call it, the one that was established by... No. I think it was established by Bon Maharaj. When you're heading down to the marketplace on the left-hand side, I forgot what it's called, but apparently they've got a lot of the books there also. Yeah, but I don't know any more than that. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.